Peter Zeihan, geopolitical strategist, and I discuss the Great Lakes economic region, the Midwest here. Hi, I'm Keith Weinhold, Get Rich Education founder, Forbes Real Estate Council member, and 20-year real estate investor. In fact, with 5 full episodes of Peter Zeihan and I together, almost 5 hours total, you can also listen to the Get Rich Education audio podcast through the Get Rich Education mobile app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. As you'll see, there are both bright spots and sore spots in the Midwest. Why don't we move north to a place that hasn't had as much uptrending economic currency as some of the others, and that's the Great Lakes region, Peter. So we're talking about really, including Wisconsin down to Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, some of these places that can have good cash flows for real estate investors, but oftentimes their population isn't growing too fast. So what are your thoughts just broadly about the economic fortunes of the Great Lakes region, Peter?
Now, this is another one of those regions that within each sub-region, you're going to have a very different story. So Greater Milwaukee, for example, that's kind of where the middle manufacturing of America happens. The high precision work, small and medium-sized companies that plug into every supply chain we have in the country. Very high skilled, very stable, having some problems with labor as the baby boomers retire, but everything else about their business model works. They're close to Canada, they feed into the Mexico system. It's good. But it's right next to Chicago. And don't get me wrong, I love to go to Chicago and gain 5 pounds every time. But Chicagoland is going to have a real big problem with the baby boomers leaving and the millennials trying to find a place that can raise a family. It's also one of those metro cities. So it's really the only major metro that's not on the coast that might actually suffer from some of these big demographic trends. And if you've got Milwaukee right there, there's no need to build much manufacturing in Chicago proper. So I can see the balance between those two cities shifting significantly over the course of the next 10 to 15 years. The biggest problem that the Great Lakes region has overall is transport. One of the reasons why globalization was such a success is the United States had kind of hobbled itself. The fastest way, the cheapest way to move things from A to B is by floating them. It's about 1/10 the cost of moving them by truck. And the United States waterway network, which includes the Great Lakes, has more miles of interconnected, naturally navigable waterway within a country than any other part of the world. In fact, more than everyone else in the world combined.
So it's an irony that any of these places would have transportation problems.
Right. But we did it to ourselves. Back during the Great Depression, we passed something called the Jones Act or the Interstate Commerce Acts. And we said that any cargo transported on water between any two cities had to be on a vessel that was American built, owned, captained, and crewed. It was designed to stimulate the shipping industry. And instead, it did the opposite. It just pushed everyone to road, rail, and ultimately plane because we don't have those restrictions on our other methods of transport. So this region had the best setup on the planet. That's why it was the Steel Belt. And then we took that away, and that made it the Rust Belt. So if you could theoretically amend the Jones Act, so all of a sudden the greater Midwest in general and the Great Lakes region in specific could start benefiting from some of its natural geography, it would turn this region around significantly. But I don't see that happening under the Biden administration, and the Trump administration was so aggressive at courting the unions that it didn't happen under the Trump administration either. So this is something that's one of those, it should be a no-brainer, but because of American politics, it's become a bit of a pie in the sky.
Do you see any particular bright spots or troubling spots in the state of Ohio, whether that's Cleveland or Columbus or Cincinnati or elsewhere, especially with their legacy of manufacturing and the fact that there is some deglobalization occurring, Peter? Does that affect the economic fortunes for Ohio?
The challenge for places like Ohio or Western Pennsylvania or really Eastern Pennsylvania, any place that is we think of now as the Rust Belt but still has a lot of legacy manufacturing, is what happens when stuff comes back. It's not going to look the same. It's going to be more capital intensive. It's going to be less labor intensive. It's going to be more value added. There'll be fewer line jobs. There'll be more custom work. And the labor force and the infrastructure are going to have to be adapted to that new reality. One of the big advantages that the South and that Texas have is because they don't have that legacy brownfield that needs rehabilitation, they can just start with something new in a new industrial park where land is cheap. Anytime you're talking about the Great Lakes, anytime you're talking about the Northeast, you have that sunk cost that is no longer appropriate for the manufacturing models of the day. And so if you can get an aggressive outward-looking city council or state development board who can help municipalities with this, they can do well because they already know how to do this stuff. But they first have to basically unlearn 70 years of patterns that just no longer apply.
Yeah, sharp insight from Peter as usual. Here at GRE, we help you find the growth areas within each national region that is profitable for real estate investment. For example, the medical and technology areas of the Midwest metros, many of them are seeing job growth, and these are the tenants that occupy rental units and pay the rent. And importantly, the Midwest is the area of the entire nation really best known for having the highest ratio of what's most important, the most favorable ratio for real estate investors, and that is a high rent at a low purchase price. You can get close to a 1% rent to price ratio here, which is really favorable. And what this means is that, for example, you can get up to close to $1,000 of monthly rent income for every $100K of property purchased. And that's why I do all of my real estate buying outside my home market, exactly in places like the Midwest. In fact, we recently helped another viewer like you buy a fully rehabbed duplex in growing Southwest Ohio with both sides of the duplex occupied, producing $1,400 of rent income on a $139,900 purchase price in a neighborhood that's not beautiful, but it's safe and it can attract respectable tenants. And this is just simple buy and hold real estate investing, and that's also known as turnkey real estate investing. All turnkey means is that you buy a property that's three things. It's already renovated, it's already occupied with a rent-paying tenant, and then thirdly, if you so choose, it's already under professional management from day one, unless you choose to manage it remotely yourself. Some people do. When your monthly rent income exceeds the property's mortgage cost and the operating expenses, well, that residual leftover cash flow, that is your new monthly income stream. And in fact, exactly how we help you here at GRE is with completely free investment coaching at gremarketplace.com/coach. So if you think you're ready to add income property to your portfolio, our coaches, Naresh or Andrea, what they do is they learn your goals. They help you find the growth areas for properties in the Midwest and elsewhere, and they find you the off-market deals that make the best long-term buy and hold income properties, turnkey properties, that an experienced manager manages for you. I mean, that's how I do all of my buying. We have relationships with proven property providers here, many of whom we do buy from ourselves. And your coach can also help write your offer if you would like. They help you navigate your rental property's third-party inspection, which I always recommend. That's cheap insurance that helps protect you. Your coach helps you interpret your appraisal. Check your management agreement before you sign it. I mean, your property manager is what makes this investment passive for you after all. And your coach just helps you ensure a smooth closing day. Your investment coach can do more than this for you, or if you prefer, they can do less than this. Regardless of where the economy is headed, anyone could use another residual income stream from a rental property. And because there are truly limited slots available to talk with our coaches through the phone or through Zoom, it helps if you've got your down payment and you are ready to go. I mean, sheesh, if it were any easier, the coach would even help make your 20% down payment on the property for you. We don't quite do that here. This really ought to help you. And I think I mentioned that it's completely free. So to get started, choose your coach and book a time. I think you'll find it really valuable. Start at gremarketplace.com/coach. I'm Keith Weinhold. I'll see you in the next video.